And we're ready for a quick start here at the Namoli Family Stadium. Taylor Storley and Victor Anderson bringing you the action for Game 3 of the weekend series. It was a long Game 2 if you count all the time we spent away from the field thanks to the rain suspended outing. But Tampa has started the day strong, going up 13-0, winning in 5. As they look for the sweep, fouled away for strike one.
And it'll be another freshman taking the ball. It'll be Coda Travers, a 5'5 freshman out of Davie, Florida, getting the ball, making her third start of the season. Still looking for her first win at the Tampa Spartans. Pitched 7 innings, giving up 11 hits.
That one's popped up to short, and the throw goes away and into the dugout. That'll advance the runner to second. And an error on a quick toss by Reynolds puts the leadoff runner aboard for the Fighting Knights. But as we continue, let's quickly introduce the Fighting Knights lineup as they look to finally get in the win column for 2026. Ariana Rigo led off and getting to second thanks to the error. It's Annalie Floriano batting second and Kylie Hope batting third. Tegan Riley bats cleanup with Savannah Ellis fifth. Marina Goins bats sixth with Cam Willis seventh. Allie Morgan eighth behind the plate and Riddle ninth. Not a lot of changes on defense for the Fighting Knights. Notably, the left fielder from Game 1, Willis, is back in the lineup. She was replaced with Lockhart yesterday, and it'll be strike one in the foul bunt to Floriano. From Travers, the 0-1. Hit to third, that gets through. They'll advance the runner. Runners at the corners, no one out. And this time it's a one-strike base hit from Floriano. And Lynn is looking to get on the scoreboard for what would be the first time this weekend.
And doing a good job jumping early on Travers. Hard hit shot through the left side, and that'll give an opportunity for Hope. Tampa's defense remains the same from the first two games. Sean Zeckman and feeds the outfield left to right. Salisbury, Yetter, Reynolds, and Newpaper, the infield first to third. And Kryler doing the catchment for the freshman Travers, who's off to a rocky start.
Swing and a miss, runner goes, and Kreidler makes sure they won't go for a double steal. Floriano reaches scoring position safely. Double steals are always dangerous in that situation with a runner on first and third. Floriano will get her first steal of the season, not counting the previous game where she didn't have a stolen base, but there was plenty late for the Fighting Knights. They were aggressive with some double steals from first and second, trailing by a lot of runs, which is why it was a little less pressure on the Spartans to get those outs. And as we continue with now two in scoring position, it's an 0-1 count from Travers to Hope. Squares up for a squeeze. That'll roll fallow, make it 1-2.
I saw how Newpaper was playing almost even with Rigo at third. So nice job of trying to lay down that bunt and squeeze in Rigo from third base, but it count 1-2.
So a close call there. Would have been a dangerous play and a tough stop for Newpaper. Travers with two in scoring position, up in the count. No outs. Swing and a miss. High and outside will get her first strikeout of the day, her second strikeout of her Spartan career, and a clutch out number one to bring up Tegan Riley.
Looking for a much better outing than she had last week. She had against St. Leo, started a series finale against the then number 21 ranked Lions, went 2 2/3, 6 hits, 5 runs, 3 earned.
That one's rolled foul on a check swing. Strike one to Tegan Riley. Was a little bit of a surprise to see the call to Travers in the circle. I had a feeling it would be Gwen McGinnis for Game 3, but they are trying to get some more reps for a player like Travers, and McGinnis is ready out of the bullpen in case of emergency after resting throughout the rest of the day. They try to bring the runner home on a squeeze, and she's caught in the pickle to end the inning. 2 down, actually. Runner gets to third safely.
And they're going to have a conference, if you will, as head coach Cassidy Pickett will try and make a argument potentially for interference on Kryler, but this is what happens when you try to run a squeeze play. When you miss that bunt and that runner from third gets a little bit too far off the reservation, you get yourself in a rundown. As you see our two umpires having a conversation to see if there was a potential for interference, but didn't really see anything in that regard. Robert Kerr calling the balls and strikes. Scott Boswell positioned behind Reynolds at short, so no interference. So it'll be runner at third, 2 down, and no balls, 2 strikes to count.
I definitely think that's the right call, as, you know, you're kind of caught in the pickle. You know, the catcher is going to have to try to get a throw and will necessarily be in the base path. Not trying to actively obstruct it, but just trying to make sure you can't get around her. 1-1 count now, missing outside, but good defense on what was going to be a squeeze play. Not a bad idea with only one out. That's where you can kind of get away with it. But the runners were just jumping a little too early, so caught stealing, and the count goes 2-1. So Riley still ahead in the count. She'll hit that one to short. A clean play from Reynolds ends it, and she'll get her throw on target to retire the side. So a little bit of chaos on the base path, an error and a hit put two aboard. But quick defense from the Spartans leaves just one on the board, and Travers has a clean start to the game, entering the bottom of the first here from the Namoli Family Stadium. Bottom of the first, we're back at the Namoli Family Stadium. Taylor Storthy and Victor Anderson bringing you the action of Game 3 of the weekend series between the Spartans and Fighting Knights. Tampa with 2 wins to start things off, and they keep things level with a good escape by Coda Travers. But let's see how Tampa will respond at the plate, starting with their starting 9. Aubrey Zeckman leads off, followed by Jenna Newpaver. Kenna Kreidler bats third, with Cam Feast batting fourth. Carly Salisbury bats fifth. Mariah Brumbelow Neal batting sixth. Abby Johns seventh. Hannah Yetter eighth. It'll be Kenzie Reynolds ninth, so the same starting 9 as usual for the Spartans.
And again, for the third straight game, it will be the reliable senior Gabriella Lindsay to get the ball for Lynn. Tampa has jumped on Lindsay early in the first inning in their 2 previous appearances. Scored 2 runs in the first inning in the first 2 games of the series.
That one's hit to the circle, and Lindsay can't field it. Leadoff single for Zeckman. Although the good thing for Lindsay is it didn't hit her squarely on the shin. It just landed right by her cleat. We saw one of the Lynn starters and pitchers.
That was Zazali. Took a hard liner off the bat of Cam Feast when she came in relief in Game 2 of the suspended game yesterday. And the really big issue for Lindsay is retiring the top half of this Tampa order.
That's going to miss down low, ball 1. And another big issue, Victor, control. Now, there was rain getting in the way yesterday, but Lindsay gave up 6 walks against the Spartans, including the final one as conditions deteriorated to the point where the game needed to be suspended. That's where Lynn ultimately made the call to Zazali out of the bullpen and went by committee to return and finish the game. Good throw to first from the hot corner by Riley. 1 down on the sac bunt. Well placed by Newpaver to advance the runner. And Tampa looking to get on the board again. The ever-reliable Kenna Kreidler will try to do so with 1 out.
She had a phenomenal resumption of the game. She reached base all 4 times. She went 2 for 2. 2 singles, 2 walks, drove in 4.
First pitch on the way now from Lindsay. Strike 1. No, ball 1. We are the Tampa broadcast, but I will say that Lindsay got robbed of a strike. That was right down the middle,
yeah.
And even if it was a tad bit low, I don't think that Kreidler would have disagreed if that was called strike 1. This time it's outside, and Kreidler gets ahead 2-0.
Let's quickly set up the defense for Lynn. Willis will be in left, Goins in center, Floriano in right. The infield will be Ellis at first, Hope at second, Riddle at short, Raleigh at third. And behind the plate, Allie Morgan doing the catching for Gabriella Lindsay.
Morgan and Lindsay have been that 1-2 punch in terms of the battery for each of these 3 starts. Morgan usually getting replaced with Dodson when Lynn has gone to the bullpen in both games. I don't know if that's just to give Dodson reps or if it's just this kind of dynamic duo of Morgan and Lindsay. 3-0 on the way from Lindsay. and it is a 4-pitch walk to Kenna Kreidler. Not a bad outcome against the Spartans' most dangerous batter.
And really, when you're dealing with these pitching staffs in modern softball today, you're going to have certain pitchers who vibe and connect better with certain pitchers, and that's what Coach Pickett and Noel McGuire have gone to with Lindsay and Morgan. And then when Lindsay's out of the game, that's when you see that substitution for Kylie Dotson with the rest of this Lynn pitching staff.
First pitch to Feast. She'll take strike, ball one. Similar spot to the first pitch to Kreidler, but once again, just lands a little bit low. Feast had a really good game one yesterday, was quiet to start game two, but is off to a hot start, getting a hit earlier today as the second game concluded, although she'll now fall behind 1-1, and Morgan is pumped up after that swing and a miss.
And that's the kind of activity you want to see from Lindsay. And the big thing with Lindsay, we touched on it earlier, avoiding giving up runs early in the first inning.
Fouled off, it's 1-2, and that is going to be the big thing. Lynn wants to keep this as close as they can for as long as they can. They've suffered 22 straight defeats to the Spartans in terms of the overall all-time records against Tampa. They'd like to finally end the drought to avoid going down on 3 straight games this weekend, but can Tampa capitalize? 1-2, down to the dirt, runners go, throw is not in time to third. Quick slide means that Zekman and Kreidler are safe. Might have been a little aggressive on the jump, but they get there in time. Zekman quick enough to reach third base, and there was not going to be a throw to second, so Kreidler can go in standing. But now 2-2 as that one had gone low and away. Feast with a pop-up, and that's going to go over to the dugout, just out of range of the first base player. Ellis giving chase.
Looked like it was a great throw by Morgan, but Raleigh's tag was just a little bit late as Zekman slid that top of the foot on the bag. And you see Morgan having a quick conversation with our home plate umpire, Robert Kirk.
Taking a look at that play, the stolen base at third. Tricky to avoid the tag on a feet-first slide, but Zekman was able to reach in time for another steal. Make it the 2-2. That one's low for ball 3. And some of the previous low offerings looked a little bit closer than that last one, which did have some late break. To bring the count full to Feast, they've got Carly Salisbury on deck. Both of them have been pretty good in the plate in recent ABs. Payoff pitch. Tipped foul, and we'll go again. That one stings a little bit for Feast. It was Feast's previous at-bat, the line drive off the shin of Zazali, that helped load the bases and propel what was a huge fourth inning for the Spartans.
Tampa batted around, sent 10 to the plate, scored 6 times, and then a run ruling the ninth, Friday nights in 5. As that one's fouled off again, almost went into the Tampa dugout past Coach Cantor and Salisbury, who waits on deck.
Let's see if Feast can stay hot at the plate, doing a good job of protecting. Lindsay struck out 2 in her most recent appearance against the Spartans. Would love a first right here. Sent high and into foul territory. Ellis gets under it and makes the catch right by the bullpen. Runners stay put, 2 away.
That was a big second out for Lindsay, and we highlighted her woes in that first inning. And in this series as a whole, Tampa, again, doing all the damage off Lindsay in the first 2 innings. And now it's up to Carly Salisbury.
Lindsay has 5 innings pitched, 11 hits, 10 runs, 9 earned, 8 walks, and 2 strikeouts this weekend against the Spartans. And 2 losses have been added to her record for the 2026 campaign as the count goes 0-1. She'd love to end the weekend on a high note. Looking ahead, the Fighting Knights will be pretty busy next week. They start Thursday against Kutztown before having a spring break weekend in Bartow, Florida at the Mississippi Softball Complex against Dominican, Wayne State, Clarion, American International, Glenville State, Southwest Minnesota State, St. Martin's, and Edinboro for 8 games over 4 days, 0-2 to Salisbury.
This is that time of the year where a lot of conference teams host the teams that come up north for the spring break games and get a lot of action. It's an opportunity not just for Lynn, but for Tampa as well to get a lot of their younger players some extended experience. Tampa will be in the midst of this. They're in the 3rd game right now of what will be a 9-game homestand. And that wants to slow roller back to Lindsay. He'll get over to Ellis to retire the side.
So quick fielding in the circle twice in the inning out of Lindsay as the inning will come to a close. Tampa once again leaving runners on the board as we escape the first inning with level footing for the first time this weekend. 0-0 at the Namoli Family Stadium. We'll be back at the top of the second. Top of the second, about to continue from the Namoli Family Stadium. Lynn opening up conference play 0-2. Tampa continuing conference play, trying to get back to an even 500 record after a 3-game sweep last weekend at St. Leo. It's a long season for both teams, and while Tampa is starting to get back on track, Lynn have continued their losing streak. The big thing that Coach Pickett wants to see out of the Fighting Knights this weekend was their ability to compete, and they'll be trying to do that in Game 3, as Tampa's had pretty convincing wins in Games 1 and 2 of the weekend series. Travers continues in the circle, getting out of danger in the previous frame. Ellis, Goins, and Willis do up for the Fighting Knights. Ellis was able to keep the bullpen rested, finishing the previous game in the circle, but got hit around in the 4th inning. She was better in Game 1 in the circle against the Spartans, having 2 scoreless frames. First pitch. Ball 1 just high. It is Kirk behind home plate once again in terms of the home plate umpire for today's game. Robert Kirk. Scott Boswell as the infield umpire. Those two have been here all weekend long, including the rain, or dealing with the rain on Friday. But it's nice and dry today. And thanks to the sun, I bet the field has also dried up quite a bit too after the rain continued throughout the night last night. 3-0 to open the inning. That one missing low to Ellis. On deck is Goins. We'll see how Travers can deal with command this inning, as it wasn't too bad in the previous frame. At worst, falling 2-1 behind Tegan Riley. And that is a 4-pitch walk to start the inning. And that'll bring Marina Goins to the plate for Lynn. Lynn still hitting below the Mendoza line. The numbers from yesterday were a 169 average and a 564 team ERA. Still small sample size, but definitely, as that one's called strike one, Goins held the bunt out too long forward. They'd like to improve in terms of the hitting today. 0-1 now to Goins, and they are likely going to advance Ellis for Willis and Morgan due up. That time goes down low, but kept the bunt present, strike 2.
And Mr. Kirk right there, seeing that barrel travel through. So now the bunt off with the 2-strike count.
0-2. This time takes, and Kreidler steps up but does not try to throw over to Ellis at first. Ellis is not the biggest base stealing threat, but Lynn have gotten a little more aggressive as time has gone on. They were able to execute 5 steals in the previous game, including 2 double steals, as that is ball strike. There was a very limited reaction from the umpire, but painting the corner for her second strikeout of the game, Goins gets one away.
Nice job by Travers. Working on outside half of the play, picks up the strikeout, and now you get an opportunity. You got Carl Willis at the plate, started Game 1 yesterday.
And that'll be ball 1 low and away. Willis running forward as if she was planning a slap or a bunt, but now the lefty will get ready to go again. Willis, one of the few left-handed batters in the Lynn lineup. And that one's going to be on the corner. Strike 1.
Travers having a much better outing to start things off than what happened against St. Leo to close out that series. Gave up 3 runs and gave up 5 runs and 2 2/3 before getting relieved by Holly Steffes in that 9-1 run rule victory by the Lions. And taking a look around the conference, St. Leo completed a sweep against Rollins this past week. They moved up those games due to the threat of weather. Florida Southern falling in a sweep to Florida Tech. And she swings through and misses to bring the count 2-2. Barry and Emory-Riddle, they've split the first two games of that series. They'll play. They're tied at 3-3. They're in the top of the seventh there. Nova Southeastern down 3-0 to Eckerd in the sixth.
And that one's just outside for ball 3, and we'll have a full count to Kara Willis. Now the question is, do they send Goins, or do they just keep her at first for the payoff with one away? If there was 2 outs, you're running no matter what. Goins stays put. That one's hit to third. Not enough time for 2. Newpaper gets the second out.
And Tampa Newpaper understanding the situation that you're not going to send that runner with the 3-2 count and 1 out. So they make the only play they can to first. So 2 down, and it'll bring up Allie Morgan and try and extend this inning for Coach Pickett and Lynn.
Morgan's done a good job becoming a leader for the Lynn team. Always great when you have an underclassman kind of showcase those leadership qualities, especially in the modern day of collegiate sports, given how much roster turnover you get from the transfer portal, especially when you also think about how many JUCO transfers eventually come in and out of programs as fresh faces. Very rarely do you have players that start as a freshman at a program and stay all 4 years. Back safely on a quick throw from Kreidler is Ellis, who took a little bit of a lead at second, but neither the fielder or runner had any worries of being caught out there. 2-0 now, that one missing from Travers. And outside tried to frame it, but that was an optimistic effort from Kreidler. 3-0. Riddle is on deck. There is 2 free bases to work with, so if it's a walk, it's not the end of the world. And indeed, strike 1. So right on the black, on the inside part of the plate. Wonder if that means the strike zone is going to be a little bit skewed to the inside for right-handed batters. I think we might have saw that on Friday in Game 1 when Kirk was behind home plate. 3-2, fouled back. Trying to remember, because there was a batter-friendly strike zone, except for that inside part of the plate for righties.
We're seeing that again in the early portion of game number 3. There were a couple of pitches that were thrown by Lindsay that we thought were going to be called strikes up here, but instead it was a call to ball by a man behind the plate.
3-2 down low, ball 4. It'll be a second walk from Travers and a long battle from Morgan that ends with her on base. So it isn't just Tampa that has sometimes struggled with runners in scoring position. Lynn have left a few on the base path throughout the weekend series, 6 in total. They had 4 against the Spartans, notably 3 against McGinnis, 1 against Winters, and they had 2 against Steffes and Specht as we wrap up the series. That one's going to be strike. Make it a 1-1 count now as Riddle gets to a level footing. She drew a walk against Specht in the 5th inning of the previous game. Specht making her Spartans collegiate debut. That one's high as another freshman continues for Tampa. Definitely gives you a look at how Tampa's roster turnover came, with McGinnis and Winters being the 2 returning players. Steffes, Travers, and Specht, freshmen, out of the bullpen and having starts for the Spartans. Right on the corner for strike 2, and all Travers needs is 1 more strike to leave 2 on board. 2's across the board, except for the number of the player at the plate. Riddle, the number 14. The 2-2. Down the line and foul. That one left to bat in a hurry and trying to dodge out of the way was the leadoff batter, Ariana Rigo.
We have a long home stretch that Tampa will have within the next 2 weeks. You're going to need to see a lot of these freshman arms find their way and really kind of carve their own niche to trying to find their pecking order behind McGinnis in the rotation.
Fouled back again. Good job protecting by Riddle. And indeed, that will be the question for the Spartans when you take a look at so many games. Winters, McGinnis, Steffes, Travers, and Specht listed on that pitching staff. And now we've got the 2-2 again. High, ball 3. That is another 3-ball count in the inning. The 3rd full count we have gotten. Runners will be going this time, notably, because you can't get caught stealing in this position. Payoff pitch. There go the runners. Hit into right field, but it's caught by Feast and the inning's over. Would have been a close play at the plate if it dropped in front of Feast, who was closing down on it. But Travers strands 2 on the base path to end a quiet second inning with 2 walks and no hits. Bottom of the second, Tampa will try to take another lead when we return. So we continue. Bottom of the second. It will be Brumble O'Neill leading off for the Spartans. Another freshman on the U Tampa lineup that's had a solid start to the year, entering with a 3.04 average. And the numbers actually have now updated for U Tampa across the board on their webpage. Tampa now up to a 280 team average and a 218 team ERA on defense. Brumble O'Neill's average has remained at 308. She is slugging .500 on the season. That is third best behind Kreidler and Feast for the Tampa offense. 1-0 now outside to Neal. Swing and a miss, 1-1. Lindsay looking better in the circle to start today. Definitely helps that the conditions are nice. No rain and influencing the control at all. There are some clouds in the sky, but it is a beautiful day at the Mole Family Stadium. Swing and a miss, 1-2. Johns and Yetter also due up. The bottom of the Tampa order has also been pretty good at the plate this weekend, including starting today with the resumption of Game 2. Outside, that one in the other batter's box. If Brumble O'Neill was a left-handed batter, I think she'd have the free base on a hit-by-pitch. You'd also imagine that Lindsay would be working away instead of inside. But for now, it's 2-2 on the way to Brumble O'Neill, the designated player. And that one's down to the dirt, ball 3. Keep an eye on the pitch count for Lindsay. Enters the inning with 19. She has been active with almost 100 pitches over the last few days. 3-2. Tipped, and actually in fair territory. Close play at first. Throw goes away. Brumble O'Neill's going to go to second, and she will be safe. Capitalizing on the error from Morgan. A leadoff base runner for the Spartans, first error of the game for the Fighting Knights.
Yeah, she would have been. Yeah, she would have been there easily on that little chopper. So it'll go down as a single and then a throwing error. That will allow Brumble O'Neill to be in scoring position.
That'll help Brumble O'Neill's average, second hit of the game for the Spartans. And let's see if Johns will be swinging away or just bringing the runner to third for the middle infield duo at the bottom of the Tampa order, who after starting with lower batting numbers have had great weekends. Will be close as that one's flipped from Isabel and out number 1.
And that's a great job laying down that bunt. She saw the infield playing back, so she executes perfectly, gets the bunt so Brumble O'Neill can advance over to third.
Great job by Gabriella Lindsay there. Picking up that ball in the circle and getting the throw to first in time. Johns has some speed on the base path. And even though she is out, it also is a great play for her with that sacrifice. Now, does Tampa have Yetter show bunt again and put the defense to the test? Or does she just swing away, knowing a ball to the outfield would give Tampa the lead? Ball 1, drifting high to Yetter.
Well, plenty of options for Coach Cantor. You see the right side of that Lynn infield, Ellis and Holt playing about normal depth. Riley playing about just a few feet in front of third base, trying to make sure Brumble O'Neill doesn't steer too far away.
That one flared to left field. It's going to be shallow, and it's going to be dropped by the shortstop. Almost had the catch. standing double after the play was unable to be made. Tampa takes the lead in that awkward reception. It would have been a sack fly at worst, but it's an RBI double. The best case outcome there for Yetter, a bloop base hit.
Yeah, now Riddle was there. If she just if she stays upright, she probably gets that catch, and Brumman O'Neal has to stay put at third. But instead, it falls just past her glove and in front of Willis, and Brumman O'Neal is able to break for home. And a good job base running by Yetter to get to second.
That'll bring Kenzie Reynolds to the plate. First pitch, outside, ball one. And that is always such a dangerous spot for balls to go to, just right between the infield and outfield. No error on Riddle on the play, and I think obviously so, because that's such a difficult catch. You can't blame her for failing to make that play. It'll be Lynn having a impromptu infield discussion with Lindsay as they game plan the 1-0 count.
Yeah, I think with Lindsay, Carmen just kind of resetting herself, if you will. You saw it was Riddle who was the one that asked for time from our umpire Scott Boswell between second and third. I think the biggest thing right now, if you're Lynn, is just you want to keep this to just a one-run game and get a good job of limiting Tampa with second and third and one out in the first and keeping them scoreless. You give up that one run and that little flare inside the left field line in front of Willis and Riddle. Now it's all about kind of relaxing, kind of resetting yourself, and limiting to just a one-run inning for the Spartans.
And you could see Lindsay kind of captaining that meeting in the circle between her and her fellow infielders, as well as Morgan as the count goes 1-1, fouled away. Probably just wanting the team to just kind of relax and get reset. You know, it's a good kind of show of leadership almost, if you will, out of the senior there. Just kind of get everyone back on track. It hasn't been the greatest weekend defensively for the Fighting Knights and for the season so far. They did avoid errors in the previous game as the count goes 1-2. And let's see how the Lynn defense responds now. Lindsay ahead in the count. She is throwing some good offerings to Reynolds, who's struggling to get some clean contact. What will she look for strike three? Checks the wrist and fires. Does she go? Yes, she does. Out number 2.
That was an easy call to ring up for Scott Boswell. Saw that barrel travel all the way through. It's kind of like a telltale sign of your umpire. If anything is close and you want to appeal to your infield umpire, that usually is the indicator of a batter went around, and she clearly did. So 2 down. It'll be up to Zekman to try and pick up that runner from second.
Tampa's already taken the lead, but they'd like to extend the advantage. Roll to short. Will be a close play at first. Not enough time. And a quick turn of the head for Riddle just keeps Yetter at third instead of thinking about maybe trying to go home. And I think that's a smart play out of Riddle, because if her throw is awkwardly received by Ellis, Riddle could just, or not Riddle, but Yetter could have just kept running around third and maybe made it home safely. However, probably not. I don't think Cantor would be that aggressive to have her try to score on what's kind of those movie plays where, you know, runners on second, you give a sacrifice bunt down the line, and you score the runner from second. But it'll set runners at the corners.
You don't want to race. You don't want to waste outs in a game that's still close, trying to take it from a 1-run lead to a 2-run lead. So Coach Cantor understanding that situation and also understanding with New Paper the way she's been hitting at the plate, you want to keep these opportunities open for you.
New Paper down the line and foul. It'll be 2 strikes to her. Gets the chance to swing away in this at-bat after having a sacrifice in the first.
Busy day around the Tampa campus. You got men's lacrosse going on just over to our left. You got basketball with their senior day doubleheader going on inside the Martinez Center. And, of course, softball here taking place. Baseball is doing their thing. So it's kind of that crossover season is really getting in full swing.
0-2, hit to left field. Will that drop into the glove of Willis? Inning over. And it is a good escape for Lindsay with 2 on board. But it's 3 hits and an error that plate a run for the Spartans. And while they can't capitalize completely with runners in scoring position, they won't be disappointed about taking the lead. Top of the third coming up from the Namole Family Stadium. A wild weekend of Spartan athletics continues when we come back. So, continuing in the circle, little B, Coda Travers got into trouble, but has showed resiliency, working her way out of the jam both times. She'll take on the top of the order, Rigo, Floriano, and Hope. Now, Victor, we were talking about Spartan athletics at the end of the previous inning, a lot of the teams active on campus. But two former Tampa players of our baseball team were actually active in a place you might not expect. Spartan legend and son of Coach Joe Urso, J.D. Urso, as well as former Spartan starter C.J. Williams, were active in the Banana Ball season opener for the Loco Beach Coconuts a couple days ago. And it was C.J. Williams getting the first ever save for the Coconuts organization. Pretty cool stuff for the former Spartan ace who helped Tampa en route to a national championship last year as the count goes 1-1. And it's a good start to the AB for Rigo, who'd love to get on board again. Advanced to second after getting on via error by Reynolds at short. That one hits a New Paver. Her throw is on target, one down. I really like the quick throws from New Paver. She really feels calm and collected at the hot corner, knows how to make a quick transition and quick throw.
And it's really that word that you have with Coach Rubio and Katie Neubauer as well, really emphasizing that positioning for someone to be a freshman, to be a regular starter at a tough position at third, and be hitting at the top of the order as well for a team who was just 2 wins away from taking home their first national title a year ago. Tells you how well of a player she is and how quickly she's acclimated herself to this Tampa roster.
That one right on the corner, strike one from Travers as we continue. But I think it really is good if you're Coach Cantor to have players that are able to break out like New Paver and Zekman have been able to do. And honestly, you might no longer have to worry about who's starting in center field and who's starting at third base for the next 4 years. You know, there was 2 spots at the top of the lineup that had big holes to be filled, Lauren Fantone and Lily Keister. But not only do their elite defensive gloves get replaced, but very consistent bats. And New Paver really does fill that hole of the gritty 2-hole batter who is good at slapping, good at getting on base with that speed, but also being able to lay some brilliant bunts down and just play the team game to advance the runners. Swing and a miss at the 2-1, and now down in the count is Floriano.
Robert Kirk still laboring after that previous pitch. Foul tip caught him on the inside of his left leg.
Even the umpires getting hit with some awkward foul balls this weekend. A couple of players in harm's way of some hits. This one right to Reynolds. Her throw's on target, 2 down. Reynolds has also really showcased a great glove at short. Her only errors have come with slightly wayward throws across the diamond. One of them evading Feldman and another one just over the head of Salisbury. But again, I don't think you have any complaints about how she's been playing shortstop this weekend. Also showcasing her elite glove as she's moved to the left side of the infield after being the second base player for a while for the Spartans. Strike one. I wonder if we'll see Hope in the circle later this weekend. She's also a 2-way player for the Fighting Knights, having pitched 2 innings this season. Her second at-bat is going to end with this quick pop-up, and the catch is made by New Paver, inning over. That is a very nice inning out of Travers, and exactly what you want to see if you're Coach Cantor. 3 up, 3 down on some weak and somewhat hard contact, but the defense has her back to take us to the bottom of the third. Spartans lead 1-0. We're back at the Namole Family Stadium. Top of the third was scoreless for Lynn. Tampa now a chance to extend their lead 3, 4, and 5 to up, starting with the ever-dangerous Kenna Kreidler. And I know Coach Cantor was happy to have Kreidler back this season for the Spartans. The sophomore catcher out of Newport Richey. One of the returning players that is having a consistent bat this season for Tampa's offense. But Tampa's always been very strong in terms of recruiting and bringing in some people from the portal. Although for Coach Cantor, in a bit of a contrast to Coach Urso for baseball, it is definitely more focused on generating underclassmen recruiting for this season for the Spartans. If you take a look, the only upperclassmen on the roster are Cam Feast, the transfer out of FGCU, and Gwen McGinnis. Everyone else is either a sophomore or freshman. A couple of redshirt players on the board there, like the redshirt sophomore Kelsey Winters.
Winters herself a transfer from Iowa, although this is her second season with this Tampa program after transferring in from Iowa City.
2-1 down low. But I think Tampa have done a pretty good job recruiting players that could be future mainstays for the Spartan lineup. And Kreidler's going to flare one to right field. That's going to drop into territory. I like the hustle by the second base player. Kreidler's thinking 2. She'll be safe on the slide. And a leadoff double. And no hesitation on the turn to second for Kenna Kreidler as Tampa gets a leadoff base runner.
She saw Floriano playing a lot deeper in right field than anticipated. So once she saw that ball drop past the second baseman Hope, she immediately bolted to second base, and she's rewarded with the 2-bagger. And now Tampa in business with Cam Feast at the plate.
So that'll bring Feast up. Already mentioned she's a transfer out of Florida Gulf Coast. And that will be outside for ball 1. One of just 2 transfers on the Tampa roster. Taking a look at how their team has been set up with almost exclusively freshman recruits. 1-0 now on the way for Lindsay. Squares up for the bunt, but it goes backwards. They would have had the sacrifice out at first and the runner to third. It'll be a 1-1 count.
Nice job by Feast trying to drop down that bunt right in front of Morgan. But I think the biggest thing right now is get Kreidler over to third, give an opportunity for the middle of your order to try and do some damage.
No out still. I think everyone in the booth thought they were actually going to be a fair bunt there from Feast as the count goes 2-0. They even started playing Salisbury walk-up song as she came and was able to give Feast her bat back as we continue. 2-1 now to Feast. Lindsay with a runner in scoring position. Feast popped up. Runner will go back to second. 1 down. And now they can play the music for Salisbury. Unsuccessful in trying to advance the runner, but not a terrible AB from Feast. Here comes Salisbury, looking to capitalize after grounding out in the first. 1 away in the inning.
Even Coach Cantor right now, you're hoping that Salisbury can. You still have the sacrifice available to you if you need to. But I think the biggest key for her is that you still have the runner at second base. So you still have the bevy of options open, and she takes that for strike 1.
Just on the corner of the plate. Good location for Lindsay, and that has been what she's been able to execute a little bit stronger today. She's given up 5 hits, but only 1 walk in the early going. Down to the dirt, good breaking ball there, trying to bait a swing, 1-1.
Infield playing back for Lynn, about normal depth. So Salisbury wants to lay down a bunt. She could do so.
We'll see what she's thinking. And that'll be 2-1 just outside. Brumble O'Neill had a pretty big base hit to open the second inning in her previous at-bat. She awaits on the on-deck circle. She was also the lone run scored for the Spartans in that frame. 2-1 from Lindsay. High, 3-1. A walk opens up a double play opportunity. Lynn have not been super successful with turning 2 in the field, but adding a force out can make life a little bit easier, especially at the corners. Ball 4 for Lindsay. That was close, but once again just outside. Her first walk since the first inning, second free pass of the game. She has combined that walk with a strikeout so far. But let's see if it's Brumble O'Neill able to do any damage. Freshman out of Moore, Oklahoma. Tampa able to recruit all around the nation, even though Florida is a hot spot for Tampa players, as well as some strong softball talent as the count goes 1-0. Tampa's had recruits from places like California, Texas, and Oklahoma. 1-0 now. Rumble O'Neill ahead in the count. 2-0 to take on the outside corner. She singled when it was a full count in her previous at-bat.
When Lindsay doesn't get that outside corner, which has been the trouble for her all weekend long, that's when she gets into trouble. Her pitch count increases, her walk total increases, and she's already down 2-0 with 2 on.
Swing and a miss. Her 50th pitch of the game gets a big whiff out of Rumble O'Neill. But the big thing for her as well is watching that pitch count, because she's already had well over 100 pitches from the first day of action. Game 1 and then Game 2, which got interrupted by the rain. So fatigue is likely going to set in as that one's fouled back. And even though, it's usual for starters to have some pretty long weekends like Lindsay is having, it's only the third kind of series of games for the Fighting Knights this season, if you think about it, where they've played 6 games and usually you'll have 3-game series. So players are still kind of getting fitness and warming up as we continue. 2-2 on the way. On the corner, ball 3. Well, here we go with another full count to Rumble O'Neill. 1 away, so the runners won't be going just yet. But if there's a ball put in play, you imagine they'll have a quick jump. Payoff pitch. Hit to left field, that's going to drop. And will they send the runner home? Yes, they do. Coming to the plate, Kreidler is safe. Runner going to third, also safe. An RBI single, and both runners advance. 2-0 Spartans.
Nice job by Brumble O'Neill, dropping that one inside the left field line. Coach Cantor being aggressive, understanding Kreidler got a great jump, sends her home. Salisbury at third, Brumble O'Neill now at second, and the Spartans extend their lead, and they're trying to do what they couldn't do in the first 2 innings. They got to put a crooked number on Lindsay and force Lynn to go to their bullpen.
Strike 1 on the corner, and that Lynn bullpen has definitely been stretched to its limit. Back in Game 1, Zazali picked up an injury. Hopefully it's nothing serious, but took a really bad shot to the shin. And then Ellis already pitched quite a bit of time out of the bullpen, had a long second inning where Tampa scored 6. So realistically, it's Hope, who hasn't pitched this weekend, or Rigo, the designated player, who had some command issues in Game 1 of the series, being the players that you would look to relieve Lindsay with.
And with Rigo being as the designated player, as Lindsay gives the 1-1 and punted down nicely.
Put to third, it's 3-0 Tampa, and out number 2.
Beautifully placed squeeze by John. She saw the left side of the infield playing deep enough where she could lay down the bunt and bring Salisbury home from third, executing perfectly. That's Tampa's softball in a nutshell. Get that runner from third, get that runner home from third with less than 2 out on the squeeze, and Tampa extends the lead. I was kind of finishing my point. With Tampa, you have Rigo at the DP. You could have her in the pitch and put Lindsay in as the defensive player if you want to give Lindsay a couple of innings of rest. But Tampa's trying to make that a moot point.
So here's Hannah Yetter, 3-0 Spartans. First pitch, ball just outside. And that was a smart play fielding from Riley on the squeeze. You might try to go home to keep things close, but she knew it was not going to be easy. There was no force out on the play. So she just takes the free second out of the inning as both runners from second and third advance. 2-0 now, high to Yetter. Very well placed bunt, though, from Johns. Her second sacrifice and first RBI of the game. I've really liked what Johns has been able to do this weekend out in left field and with the bat for the Spartans. Yetter ahead 3-0 on the count. Kenzie Reynolds awaits. Good stuff for Yetter, the freshman out of Winter Garden. And we'll take strike 1. That was close to where that first pitch of the at-bat ended, but this time it does get called a strike by Kirk, the umpire. Do want to give a shout-out to Scott Boswell and Rob Kirk, the two that have been running the show this weekend. They were dealing with the rain yesterday on the field as the count goes full, 3-2 on the corner.
And they were really early on when Game 2 went to the third inning, and they saw the weather started to deteriorate to come bring coaches together, suspend the game, and get us back out here on a beautiful, much lovelier conditions on a Saturday.
Flare to right field. That one's got some carry, but it's in range for Floriano. Inning over on the full counts, and Lindsay will leave one aboard. But the damage was done for the Spartans. They score 2 on 2 hits with no errors and extend to a 3-0 lead about halfway through the game, entering the top of the fourth. So here we go. Conference in the circle for the Spartan infield as they pump up Travers for the brand new inning. Tampa looking to move to a 7-5 record and draw to a level 3-3 in conference play. That 3-run lead they currently have might be able to do just that. First pitch on the way from Coda Travers. Hit to right. That's shallow in range and into the bullpen. Strike one. I do wonder if there will be action for Lynn in that bullpen or not. We'll have to wait and see. Riley, Ellis, Goins due up in this inning. Down to the dirt, 1-1 now, missing from Travers. Tampa as a team with just under a 2.20 ERA now on the season. It shows you that they've had a lot of close games in terms of the defensive end. The offense has sometimes been able to struggle to keep up. But not this weekend. They have done the damage, bringing home 23 runs in total. As that one drops low, ball 3. Three and one count. Riley, Ellison, Goins. And it is strike 2. A little bit early, making her way to first base. Riley will have to wait for the payoff pitch. Top of the fourth. 3-2. No one out. Hit foul. Newpaver gave chase, but that one drifts over to the Spartan dugout. The Spartan bullpen also remains empty. They would love for Travers to go the distance. They've got McGinnis and potentially even Winters waiting in the wings if not.
If you're Coach Cantor, you ideally would like to say McGinnis for your busy week of action. You got 6 games coming up the next week. You got doubleheaders Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So ideally, you would like to see Travers go the full way and save McGinnis and have her available on full rest for either your doubleheader Wednesday versus Assumption or the big doubleheader Friday versus Wilmington.
The 3-2 hit down the line and foul once again. The third base coach able to dodge that foul ball. We will be back on the broadcast on Wednesday on the SSE Digital Network and, of course, for the weekend matchups. Both softball and baseball being home next week to kick off the month of March. This is Tampa's final game for the month of February. 3-2 on the way again. Ball 4, just low. Good job taking that changeup. That'll be the third walk for Travers in the circle, but she has also put up 2 strikeouts so far today.
It's just by far the best start that she's had in the first 2 that she from the previous 2 she had as a Tampa Spartan. I think the thing for her just want to work on that control, but lay down.
To third, quick throw from Newpaver, and they do get out number 1 on a sacrifice. Might have had time to turn for 2, but Newpaver playing it smart, just getting the lead player out on the base path instead of focusing on the other runner.
And really in situations like that, and knowing Coach Cantor, you always want to ensure getting that out at first. And if the runner runs a little bit too far past second, then you make that quick throw over there to try and catch that run napping. But in a situation like that, you got the 3-run lead, get the out at first, you'll exchange 60 feet for an out on the board.
Ball one outside to Goins, who has her second at-bat of the game against Travers. Went down looking in the second. Popped up. Now will carry pretty deep to Zekman. Runner stays put, 2 away. And that'll bring up Kara Willis to the plate for the Fighting Knights. That is exactly what you want out of Travers, to get that second quick out after the sacrifice. Try to kill the momentum that Lynn generated off that leadoff walk. The infield going to play a bit in on Willis. And so is the outfield, as that one slapped foul, out of range of Newpaver, but just too far to the left.
Yeah, fortunately for Tampa, that one just landed foul territory past the third baseman. She was playing in, almost hugging the third base bag.
A big swing from Willis would bring home a run, but needs better contact than this. Fouled, strike 2.
You see Travers really trying to work that inside half of the plate on the righty versus lefty matchup, and wouldn't be surprised here on the 0-2 pitch if maybe tries to expand the zone just a little bit to try and get Willis to chase something low and away.
So the 0-2 going down in the dirt. Kreidler with a good block. Runner stays put. And that was exactly what they went with Victor, going down low and outside, trying to see if she would go to roll over it. But would have had to roll over the dirt as it landed super far down low. Travers still ahead in the count. Now we'll try again the 1-2. Hit to short. Reynolds makes the throw, but it gets away. That will bring the runner home. Tampa makes the throw to second. They can't get the out either. An errant play brings Lynn on the board for the first time this weekend.
A rare miscue by Reynolds. The field was clean. The throw was not. And as you referenced, Tyler, first time Lynn touches home plate all weekend long.
That is the exact error that we saw out of Reynolds earlier today. Just air milled the throw over Salisbury. This time didn't land in the dugout. It took a bounce where it was fieldable by Feast, who quickly tried to then get the runner out at second. But not enough time for a clean catch and tag. So advancing the extra base is Willis, and Riley able to easily come home. 1-0. 1-1. Big whiff there by Morgan. She worked a full count walk in her previous at-bat. And that run will not be earned on Travers, as the inning would have been ended without that error. Fouled back, one more strike for Travers, and she'll keep Tampa with a 2-run advantage. Don't know if this is where Tampa would then make a call to the bullpen. Obviously, you want to keep McGinnis fresh, but you do have 3 days of rest coming up here, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, before a pretty active weekend. Fouled back, and that one bounces off the net for strike 2 still. Outside of the walk, better command this inning out of Travers, being ahead in each of these at-bats, except the 1-0 to Goins, where she was able to get a 1-0 flyout, so no harm, no foul. Outside again, Kreidler steps up and almost had the runner slipping at second, that being Willis in scoring position. If she was a little bit quicker with the throw and they were really trying to do a quick pickoff, maybe they would have had her, or would have been a little bit closer. That one hit sharply to straightaway center, but going all the way back is Zekman to make the catch just in front of the warning track. Clean swing from Morgan, but the Valley in center field denies her of a base hit. 1 run finally comes home for Lynn off that error. 1 is left on base as Travers cleans up the rest of the damage. The Fighting Knights pull within 2. So we continue from the Namoli Family Stadium. 3-1 Spartans lead as Lynn finally got on the scoreboard after what is a second error of the game from the Spartans. We'll continue now with a brand new inning for Reynolds, Zekman, and Newpaver at the Namoli Family Stadium. A pretty active weekend of work for Tampa Spartan Sports, and that will be outside for ball one. Tampa softball trying to close out a sweep. Tampa baseball looking to have a solid doubleheader day as well. Tampa coming on top 12-8 against Lynn a little bit earlier. And basketball also at home, currently leading as we continue the action. 2-0 now. It's Lindsay still in the circle. Her best start so far, but can Tampa add some extra damage to the table, make it 3-0. And it has been a long weekend for Lindsay. She has the trust as the team as the ace. And we'll definitely have more of these long weekends to go later in the year. Squares up, and that will be strike one for Reynolds. Right on the corner of the plate, but maybe also flashing the bunt is what got the umpire to say she went too far forward.
Lindsay, the workhorse of this Lynn staff, has pitched now 28 of their 56 2/3 innings of the season, and she issues a 4-pitch walk to start the fourth. And it really tells you, one, how much they trust Lindsay in the circle, and secondly, how they haven't developed that trust yet with the remainder of this Lynn pitching staff, and they're going to need those other arms to give Lindsay some relief. If they want to find themselves in the win column eventually in 2026, especially with the stretch that you highlighted that Lynn has coming up with 8 games before they go back in conference play next weekend, 2 weekends from now.
Fouled on the first pitch bunt attempt from Zekman. Make it 0-1.
And you reference that schedule coming up. They got a doubleheader with Kutztown on Thursday, and then they head to Bartow for the spring break games where they will have 8 games of action between next Saturday and the following Tuesday. And then they'll be back at home versus Eckerd to resume conference play 2 weekends from Friday.
Here's the 0-1. That one's going to miss high. Quick jump, but staying at first is Kenzie Reynolds. And that will be a big question. Lynn trying to figure out what the players on their team are doing. They've played less games than some of their SSC counterparts. They'll be catching up with a pretty big slate of out-of-conference games next weekend. And that is when Lynn, I think, will have a more comfortable idea of, okay, this is our best 9, and these are our best pitchers and how we want to deploy them. Great bunt this time for Zekman. She'll be safe as the third base player, Riley, holds on to the ball. Another bunt single out of Zekman to put another on the base path for the Spartans. Really good hustle out of her, and I imagine it'll be back to the bunt for Newpaver with 2 on and no one out.
And I really love how Zekman was able to drop down the bunt, understanding the positioning of the Lynn defense and forcing Lindsay to play it, and also realizing that if you bunt it towards the pitcher and have it slow enough, you take those corner infielders, Riley and Ellis, out of the equation.
First pitch on the way. Goes for the bunt, but pulls back. It does hit the corner, strike 1. So we will see if there's a better sack bunt right here. It'll be an 0-1 count. The umpire did show strike. Pulls away. This time it's 1-1. Again, quickly behind home plate, Morgan able to move up. And we do see a catcher's helmet down in the Lynn bullpen. There is some activity. This could be the final inning for Lindsay. Keep an eye on her pitch count. That is now at 70 in the ball game, approaching 150 plus on the weekend. Gets the bunt down. Will be a close play at first. More than enough time to be safe as Newpaver. Couldn't be fielded cleanly by Riley. Back-to-back bunts. Load the bases for the Spartans and for Kenna Kreidler. And I'll tell you.
No, hold on. Wait a minute. No. Now they're going to rule that the ball hit Newpaver while she was running towards first in the field of play. So she's going to be ruled out, and the runners are going to have to report back to second and first respectively. And Robert Kirk coming over to Tampa head coach Lizzie Cantor to give the explanation.
So that is a huge blow for the Spartans and for Newpaver. Just got in the way of the bunt, but actually scratched that. I think they might be calling that a foul ball because Newpaver's headed back to the batter's box. So
So it was a foul ball.
So make it 1-2 on the count now.
Okay, so it's 1-2, 1 out. New Paper's still at the plate.
No outs, actually. New
No
paper
outs
still at the
actually.
plate.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that was almost confusion because I saw the out signal from Robert Kirk, so I was under the presumption that when she made contact, the ball hit her while I was in the field of play.
But no, it looks like they just judged the bounce of the bunt to be in foul territory. Before the field of play, strike 3, and that's a big strikeout for Lindsay. That has led to an entirely different outcome for the start of the inning with that one different call. Second K of the game for Lindsay. And now it's 1 down and 2 on board for the Spartans. So instead of the bases loaded and no one out, it is a clean out with no sacrifice for Tampa. It's Kenna Kreidler still in a dangerous spot. She'll take down low ball 1. But now you can work around Kreidler a little bit more so than you could with the bases loaded. Cam Feast awaits. And walking Kreidler here unintentionally isn't a bad outcome, I think, if you're Lynn. That's on the corner and called a strike. Good framing that time by Morgan. Kreidler doubled in the third inning. She was the leadoff player and got on base and eventually scored. Down to the dirt. Ball bounces away. Runners go. It'll be third and second with 1 out. That time, purely off the wild pitch, the runners will advance. And all Kreidler needs to do is get under this one with a 2-1 count, and she will extend the Spartan lead. Heart of the order for Tampa. Flared to right field. That is in range for a sacrifice if the catch is made. And no, out of range of the second base player.
And honestly, that is the best case situation for Lynn because with Hope's momentum taking her towards the Lynn bullpen, if she catches that, not only do you have the runner scoring from third, but you have the runner coming, perhaps Zekman coming over to second as well, coming over from second to third as well.
They will check on the second base player who had a rough landing on the dirt by the Lynn bullpen and that fence. And again, take it from me. I've played intramural softball here. This is not fun dirt to slide on. It can be very annoying when you land awkwardly. Just look at Cam Feast exiting the previous game after an awkward slide into the second. It might be something similar there for the second base player, that being Hope, and would be big bad news for Lynn because Hope would be a player you look at out of the bullpen for the Fighting Knights. You've already had Cesali pick up an injury. You've already had Ellis have a lengthy outing. It would be Ariana Rigo, the only healthy arm, and I believe she's been warming up recently for the Fighting Knights, as we'll continue 2-2. But the good news for Hope is, while she looks a little hobbled, she's good to continue. 2-2, 2 down. Runners at second and third. That foul ball adding another strike to the tally against Kreidler. I know Lindsay would love a third strikeout. She has struck out 2 today, having 2 from her previous outing as well. Conversely, she's only had 3 walks to 6. High, ball 3, full count to Kreidler. Kreidler has yet to not reach base this weekend. Swing and a miss, tipped into the glove. Out number 2, strikeout number 3. There is a first time for everything. Kreidler's first time retired after having a monster weekend at the plate with plenty of walks and plenty of hits. Cam Feast is the Spartans' last hope to try to score. Will Tampa's ability to capitalize with runners in scoring position come into question again? Ball 1. And that was, again, something that Coach Cantor wanted to stress. Be clutch in these situations. Finish the game strong. It is not a massive Tampa lead. They're only up by 2. They would love to extend that advantage. But again, runners being left on base has been a problem still plaguing the Spartans. And while it's been maybe a minor issue in years past, it's really reared its ugly head so far in 2026. That one taken outside. 2-0 to Feast. They did capitalize in the third inning, though, with that big RBI single and the RBI squeeze from Johns on the sacrifice bunt. That one flared to right. It will be tough to get to. Out of range. No, in range for Hope. Makes the catch, falling over, and the inning's over. Almost another bloop RBI, but Lindsay strands 2 of the Spartans with 1 hit, no errors, and a clean frame to keep things a 2-run ball game. Entering the top of the 5th, 3-1 Tampa. So we continue with two
Yep,
changes.
and one in.
And as we are back, it is going to be Treywick out in right field. And it is now Holly Steffes in the circle. So the number 9 in the circle and the number 9, or number 1 playing in position number 9 out in right. That's kind of ironic number symmetry there, Victor. You got number 9 playing at the 1 spot and number 1 playing at the 9 spot. And I wonder if that answers our question about Feast's injury, whether this early change wasn't actually because of her awkward slide, but just to get a defensive player in the game. Welcome back to the University of Tampa broadcast on the SSC Digital Network, top of the 5th, and Steffes ready to go for the second time today. First pitch, strike 1.
And after the start that she had versus Lynn, where she pitched 4 shutout innings and that 13-0 victory in 5, you can understand why Coach Leslie Cantor wants to bring Steffes in, which will be a safe situation for the freshman with the 2-run lead to protect.
That'll be 2 strikes on the corner. She'll be eligible for the save if she goes the distance. But as long as she has a clean inning here, she will guarantee a hold if they say bring out Winters for the 7th. 0-2 on the way from Steffes. High and outside 1-2. Steffes picked up where she left off yesterday, throwing another 1 clean inning before her day was done, and they gave Specht her Spartans debut to close the ballgame. Meanwhile, Travers' final line score is 4 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, 3 walks and 2 Ks. Add a K to the tally for Steffes, 1 down.
And a great job by Steffes, who in that first game we referenced was phenomenal. Only went 4 innings, didn't really have to do much. Only allowed 3 hits. Had 5 strikeouts in that victory over Lynn. Went 4 innings, 2 hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts on 53 pitches.
Swing and a miss, strike 1 now. Top of the order, Ariana Rigo with a big whiff, 0-1. But yeah, it's good to see Steffes getting back to work again. Really has looked good whenever she's taken the circle here at the Namoli Family Stadium to start her Spartans career. But again, I do have to repeat, good outing today as well from Travers, just what the doctor ordered. And that is a clean throw from Reynolds, avoiding any issues that she had earlier in the day on those errant throws. 2 down quickly for Floriano.
And this is the way to start things off for Steffes, especially after the way she pitched in the earlier game today. And given how, as I kind of reference this, Tampa's going to be playing 6 games this upcoming week. So you're going to need all your arms available and ready and focused. And if Steffes continues to pitch the way she's pitching in this de facto doubleheader versus Lynn, don't be surprised if she does get maybe multiple starts during this 6-game stretch in the midweek with Assumption, Wilmington, and Southwestern Minnesota State.
I do imagine that so far Steffes has been able to solidify herself as the SP2 for the Spartans behind Gwen McGinnis. And that is a pretty good role to pick up, given how dominant McGinnis has been over these last 3 seasons with you, Tampa, breaking out as one of the best arms in the SSC and the nation these last few years. And Steffes could be close to joining her. Catch made by Salisbury, inning over, and a quick frame from Steffes out of the bullpen. She's guaranteed her first hold of the season. Could go the distance for a save, but there's still 6 outs to play for, and plenty of time for the Spartans offense to extend their lead. 3-1 Spartans entering the bottom of the 5th. So, after the previous inning and potential injury for Hope with that awkward landing in foul territory, we will see a defensive change for the Fighting Knights.
Over at second base will be Kayla Santiago as a defensive substitution for Callie Hope, who got dinged up in the bottom of the third on that, trying to catch that foul ball going towards her dugout on the right field line. So Coach Pickett, not taking any chances, brings in the freshman from local product from Boca Raton. And we'll see Robert Kirk making the change with Leslie Cantor.
So the first Spartan change not coming up yet. We could see some pinch hit appearances later or pinch run appearances later. Outside of Trawick for Feast. Nothing doing at the plate, still a close game. And Lindsay stays in the circle for the Fighting Knights. This will be your longest outing of the weekend, having completed 4 innings, looking to make a 5th under the belt as well. And finally, give a break to the Fighting Knights bullpen that's had to do a lot of heavy lifting in some of these games where Lindsay's had to exit early.
Yeah, Lindsay pitched only 5 innings in the first 2 games of the series. And for her to make it to the 5th inning in a game that Lynn has been able to keep close is a credit to, one, giving her that rest when they resumed play earlier today, and number 2, the inability for Tampa to really get a strong read off of Lindsay. That first inning when she held Tampa scoreless was really big for her confidence and giving Lynn an opportunity. And they're still in this ball game at the bottom of the 5th.
1-2 now to Salisbury. That one fouled back. And it has been a good job of Lindsay getting out of jams, and Tampa's problems with getting clutch base hits and runs once again creeping up throughout the weekend. So that's, I think, something that Coach Cantor will notice. Definitely a positive to have had those 2 wins, the 2 comfortable wins. But also, I know she would like Tampa to hit better with runners in those dangerous positions. Tampa hasn't had a lot of difficult times setting the table, though. Salisbury worked a walk her previous at bat. Now it's battled to a 2-2 count. 3-2. And a big thing for Tampa, they do have the first piece of the puzzle, getting base runners, getting on base. They've done a great job with discipline this weekend and finding just good base hits, good bunts in play. It's just the finishing touch that might be a little bit tricky sometimes for the Spartans. As that one's fouled back, we'll stay with a full count.
I think that's the one thing that Coach Cantor will certainly take out of this series versus Lynn, regardless of the result, is Tampa not being consistently getting those runners home with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. That's something that all great teams thrive on.
That'll get through right over the head of Riley. A single for Salisbury to start the inning.
Great job by Salisbury. She didn't get all of she got just enough of it, and we're gonna see Leslie Cantor bring a Bumble Neal from the batter's box, and we'll see who will emerge to pinch hit for Tampa in this situation. Kind of understanding that you want to really break this game open, don't want to give Lynn any chances to cut into this deficit in the top of the 6th.
I think that's Bella Campbell coming in.
Yes.
And is that a pinch runner out there for Salisbury? It looked like
Nope,
it might have been. No, it isn't.
Salisbury's still in, so Bella Campbell will be pinch hitting.
I think the reason they're making a call to Campbell, they trust her ability to lay the bunt down. I think that's the very obvious game plan right here. Put it in play and advance the runner. And Tampa's had multiple bunt hits today. They also had the successful squeeze from Johns in her previous at-bat. Johns will probably have a chance to swing away if this is a successful sacrifice. Ball 1, throwback to first. They don't get the runner, but it is very close. Too far of a jump there from Salisbury, a mistake she won't want to replicate.
Yeah, I had needed to take a little extra time as that tag caught her on the front of her batting helmet and some dirt get on that red jersey of hers.
I think maybe some dirt got into her face as well with the head first slide, but she's good to continue, brushing off anything that maybe got close to her eye. 1-0 count now to Campbell, and she'll square up again. Gets it down right in front of home plate. It's a fair ball, and it is a successful sacrifice to advance the runner 1 away. Salisbury in scoring position. Campbell does the job off the bench, and that will bring up Abby Johns to the plate.
Yeah, that's the one thing that Coach Cantor wanted to do in this situation, understanding that it was a 2-run game, trying to pick up that 3rd run and give a little bit more breathing room for Holly Stephens in relief.
First pitch outside, ball 1. They're not actively holding the runner at second, so Salisbury can take a slightly larger lead. But this time, for the first time today, Johns has probably got the green light to try to swing away. Had a good sacrifice in the second inning that eventually brought Bromell O'Neill home. And then a squeeze bunt, which brought Salisbury home. Swing and a miss. 1-1. John's looking to continue what has been a very solid weekend, also adding to our RBI tally. 9 hits on the day for the Spartans and 3 walks. They've been getting on bases in droves as the count goes 1-2.
But the problem has been their inability to get multiple runners home. Scored 1 in the second. They scored 2 in the third. But they've left 7 runners on base. Hasn't hurt them so far because of the solid pitching from the Spartans.
That's been a big thing as well as the count is 1-2. Hit to left field. That's going to get down, and that can bring the 4th run home for Tampa. Close play at the plate. Salisbury beats the throw, and they won't get the out at second. Feet first slide. Johns an RBI double.
Nice work by Johns. Again, Tampa living on that inside, left field line base hit. We see multiple times they've done that to not only today but this series. And another RBI for Johns extends the Tampa lead to 4-1.
And that'll bring up Hannah Yetter, who has also had a very solid weekend at the plate. RBI double back in the second, which brought home Brumble O'Neill. And now has Johns halfway home. First pitch, strike 1. Don't know if this will be the final inning for Lindsay. Her pitch count is now at 94 in the ball game. And approaching 200 for the weekend. Outside, strike 2. Got her on the corner of the plate. Taking a look at the previous game, she had 67 pitches. She had about 50 to 60 in game 1 as well. So she is over that 200 pitch mark for a very busy weekend against the Spartans. Lindsay looking for another strikeout. Flared foul, still 0-2.
The biggest thing with Lindsay from in today's game as opposed to the previous 2 outings we saw her has been her ability to throw strikes and throw strikes consistently. You mentioned her game 2, 67 pitches, only 30 strikes, 93% to throw pitch number 94, 48 of them have been for strikes.
Here's the 0-2. Outside, ball 1.
And the other thing as well, she has kept her walk total low. She's walked 8 batters in the 10 innings she's pitched in this series. 3 walks so far and 4 in the third.
1-2 on the way to Yetter. Hit up the middle and caught on a diving play at short. 2 down. Kind of had an awkward float on the line drive off the bat. Riddle stays on top of it. The runner from second wouldn't have advanced if that one was dropped. Would have been potentially Yetter safe at first. 2 down now for Kenzie Reynolds. Tampa has extended their lead to 4-1 thanks to that 10th hit and RBI. Reynolds would like a hit today. She's struck out and walked, has had 2 of the 3 true outcomes. That's hit up the middle, out of range of the second base player. No, picked up on a scoop, but the throw goes wild, and it is 5-1 Spartans. Sliding into second safely after the error is Reynolds as the run comes home.
Yeah, so that's going to be a base hit and then the throwing error from Santiago to allow that 5th run to cross home plate.
So no RBI from Reynolds on the play. The runner scored thanks to the errant throw. Johns was still at second previously. And there is a conference now in the circle for Lindsay as her pitch count is just on the edge of 100.
Yeah, so her next pitch will be number 100. And it almost feels like that proverbial dam is set to break with this Tampa offense, finally breaking through on Lindsay after kind of getting her in bits and pieces in the second and third.
Second error of the game for the Fighting Knights, both Tampa and Lynn now with 2 errors on the day. Our live stats page has 3 errors. I don't know where they found that second one.
Oh, this is...
Either way, first pitch. Hit up the middle. Will be a close play at first for Zekman. She is safe. Great hustle. Another infield single. That's her 4th hit of the game. Zekman wasting no time speeding along the base path. Great work out of the freshman. If you take a look at her numbers, this is her first 4-hit game of her Spartan career. Had a 3-hit game on their 5-4 8-inning loss back last weekend against St. Leo. But what a day to jump to 4 hits on offense. Now at the plate, it's Newpaver. Flared foul, strike 1. Pitch count now 1-0-2 for Lindsay.
She is the first Spartan to record 4 hits in a game since Lily Kistler did it this time last year, February 22nd, against Lynn.
So once again, we talked about how she's basically filled the Lily Keister hole in the lineup and does so by getting 4 hits on the day. Always a special occasion when you can get on base like that 4 times. Strike 2 taken on the outside corner to Newpaver. Just like Keister, Zekman also out in center field. 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 base runners at the corners. Flared foul again. Newpaver staying alive, continuing the outing. And with the activity down to the bullpen, it is a good guess that Lindsay might be done for the 6th, might be able to rest the arm and get the rest of the day off. I bet she'll be raring to go again. I don't think she'll necessarily want to exit, but maybe they do play on the side of caution. Flared into left, but foul again. Could have dropped fair, as it would have gone over the head of Riley and been out of range of Riddle. Newpaver fighting to stay alive. 0 for 2 outside of her sacrifice back in the first. Kenna Kreidler on deck. High, good take. Bit of a jump, but no throwback to first from Morgan, 1-2. 1-2. Hit to left. Will that drop? It is caught. No, dropped on the run. Went in and out of the glove of Willis, and it is another run coming home. It is 6-1 Spartans. And I think that one might be called an error. I am not sure what our scorers will call it.
Yeah, that should easily be an E7 on Willis. She had that ball in her glove easily and just flat out dropped it.
So 3rd error of the game for the Fighting Knights. And it is now 6-1 Tampa. Won't be an RBI for Newpaver, but gets the run home. It's Kenna Kreidler. Popped up foul, strike 1. The activity continues in the bullpen, depending on if Lindsay can escape. Thought she would have had it on that fly ball to left, but just out of range of Willis, who had a run forwards. Outfield are respecting Kreidler's power, playing a bit deeper. The infield at just their standard double play depth. Kreidler hits her right. This could be another blooper. It is caught on the run this time. The catch secured by Floriano. Inning over. 2 left on the base path again. But after 4 hits and an error, it is 3 runs scoring for the Spartans. Actually, 2 errors out of Lynn with 2 left on board. And Tampa jumping to a 5-run advantage to enter the top of the 6th. Here we go. Top of the 6th. Welcome back to you, Tampa. It's Taylor Storley and Victor Anderson bringing you the action from the weekend. 3-game set between the Spartans and Fighting Knights, and Tampa leads 6-1 to try to close out the sweep. It'll be Steffes continuing in the circle. 2 defensive changes, though, Victor.
Yeah, now moving over from catching the first catch from first base to catch will be Carly Salisbury, and Olivia Feldman will come in to play first base. She'll bat in Kenna Kreidler's spot at the 3 hole. So again, the Tampa defense will be Feldman, Yeto, Reynolds, and Newpaver around the infield, 1st to 3rd, with Salisbury doing the catching. Infield remains Sean, Zekman, and Trewick. The outfield, left to right, respectively, and Steffes back in the circle for her second inning of work.
So, Tampa looking to hold on to the lead. Steffes, a perfect inning last time out. That'll be strike one, low and inside. Steffes looking good to go as we continue her second straight game in the circle. And opened the day earlier today in the circle with a clean inning before exiting stage left as Tampa would close out the top of the fifth to win via run rule. 0-2 now, big whiff on the batter. That being Santiago, replacing Hope due to the potential injury she picked up. It's also good for Santiago just to get a chance to play.
Steppers are going to continue keeping a 0 on the scoreboard for Lynn. Have 4 shutout innings in there. 13-0 win earlier today. Game that was resumed after being suspended yesterday due to rain. But won't have to worry about that today with these pristine conditions.
A couple of clouds in the sky, but they look nice and happy if a cloud could be happy. So we should stay nice and dry as the count goes 2-2. The reason they moved the doubleheader to Friday was because they were worried about inclement weather on Saturday, but thankfully Mother Nature has allowed us to play some full softball games today. Flared foul and still make it 2-2. That one ricocheting off the dugout pretty loudly. Steffes continuing, working with Salisbury. Interesting to see her behind home plate. She is a utility player. One of the first times we'll see her playing catcher for the Spartans. On the ground is second. Picked up by Yetter. Makes the toss. One down.
And good job by Yetter. She thought about doing a little shuffle pass over the first, but realized she had time. She took a couple extra steps to get her feet underneath her, get that solid foundation before she made a throw over to Feldman at first.
So real disciplined fielding out of Yetter to Feldman. One down for Tegan Riley. High, almost got a baited swing. Ball one. Definitely Tampa's got to feel a little bit happier about their 5-run advantage. They once again, however, had a chance to extend it further, leaving 2 on the base path, but it was a successful 3-run outing in the previous frame, 1-1.
Taking a look around the rest of the scores in the conference. Eckerd down early to Nova Southeastern 3-0 in the bottom of the first bases, but the Tritons do have the bases loaded there. That one goes inside for ball 2. Emory Riddle and Barry, they're deadlocked at 3. They're in the top of the 7th over at Miami Shores and Buccaneer Field. And that's the only other games going on in the conference on this Saturday. Of course, Mother Nature moving a lot of series to Thursday, Friday series.
Fouled again, 2-2. So sometimes early weekend games being played across the SSC. It does set them up for some midweek matchups again next week across the board. I know a lot of SSC teams will be at home or maybe traveling to a Floridian Invitational for the spring break week. 2-1 on the way. Down and foul again, 2-2.
Well, Florida Tech will be part of spring break games that will be taking place over in Vieira, the former home of the Washington Nationals, where they had their spring training for many, many years. Of course, Tampa will have, this is the third of a 13-game homestand for the Spartans that will expand the next 2 weeks.
Out to reach a Steffes in the circle, a line drive base hit from Tegan Riley. It's the second hit of the day for the Fighting Knights. Almost made the catch, but just under the glove. And after a pretty lengthy road trip and neutral site vacation, Tampa finally back home for some softball, as there will be a pinch runner coming in for Tegan Riley. They will bring on the slightly speedier number 23 into the ball game.
Yeah, that will be Callie Burden, the freshman from Plant City, to be the runner at first base.
I'd imagine Ellis will resume at first base when we come back in the bottom of the 6th inning. But for now, Burden replacing Riley. Here's Savannah Ellis. First pitch on the way. Will there be a bunt to move the runner? Down to the dirt. That one slips all the way away from Salisbury, who can't find the ball. The runner thought about going to third, but will stay at second. A wild pitch to start the at-bat.
If she runs all the way, she got the sign from Coach Pickett over at second base to keep on coming. She may have had a chance to get that extra base.
However, she stays put And that one goes outside. Good catch by Salisbury, 2-0. There was a little bit of hesitation at second base, trying to see where the ball was rather than looking over to coach. But after the hesitation, right move just to stay put. 3-0, close call, but missing. A free base exists. Goins on deck. 1 out, 1 on. Will be the first walk we see out of Steffes this weekend. That one hits the zone, make it 3-1. Steffes didn't give up a free base in her 4 innings back in Game 2, counting the 3 innings from yesterday and the 1 inning today. So 3-1 count now. You might see Ellis swing the bat. On the corner, strike 2, ready to go was Ellis, but a little premature. We'll have a payoff pitch.
Yeah, I thought Ellis was going to get that walk, but it just crossed over the zone, says Mr. Kirk behind the plate.
Payoff pitch. Ball 4, this time in the dirt. Good block by Salisbury to make sure the runner stays put. And that'll add a second runner on the base path. First walk for Steffes this weekend. Tampa's 4th walk of the game from the circle. And just their 6th of the weekend series. Swing and a miss, strike 1 though. Getting right back to work with a big whiff against Goins.
Your Steffes, you got 5 run. They got a 5-run cushion to work with, so it's all about executing, delivering to Salisbury, being solid. Hope he gets something. Goins can roll over and get 2 and get out of this inning.
And that will be 2 strikes now from Steffes. Again, double play would certainly be enjoyed here to keep the pitch count low for Steffes and quickly move the offense back to the plate. But a strikeout here, I don't think Steffes would mind either. 0-2 from the freshman. Fouled, just got under it, Goins staying alive.
You got Tampa with the doubleheader versus Assumption on Wednesday. They got a doubleheader versus Wilmington, who just 2 years removed from playing in the D2 National Championships, which is in Central Florida. And then they got Southwest Minnesota State on Saturday.
Up the middle, takes a high bounce. Out of range of Reynolds, that'll bring a run home.
Oh, it won't.
Throw not in time. Salisbury keeps it to put the runners at first and second. And it's a first RBI of the game for the Fighting Knights, bringing Burden home from second.
That ball came in choppy. It'll be a pitch hitter in the number 7 position for Kara Willis, and that will be Kayla Como, the freshman from Rockledge.
That is a big base hit, just was a little too high on the hop for Reynolds, who could have had a potential solo double play with the tag out at second on the bag if she had made the grab. But a high hop is unlucky for Steffes as Lynn score again. Tampa still leading. The tying run is on deck, though, so if the Fighting Knights really want to make it spicy to end the game, they'll want to keep capitalizing right here. 2 on, 1 away. First pitch from Steffes. Low and in, good block by Salisbury, 1-0. Tampa will have a chance to extend their advantage in the bottom of the 6th. If Kreidler kept that inning going, there would have been a chance for Tampa to try to walk it off the way they won Game 2 via run rule, but good escape, and now Lynn are cutting back on the deficit once more. 2-0, missing high. And now you start to wonder if you're Tampa. There is a bit of activity down in the bullpen. Do you make the call? I believe it would be McGinnis's numbers if so, and there is a conference in the circle.
I think if you're Leslie Cantor, you see the infield trying to kind of cool down Steffes, trying to get her to relax. And if you're Coach Cantor, you want to give the freshman every opportunity to try and get out of this situation and get yourself in the bottom of the 6th with that 4-run cushion. But you do have your ace in your back pocket if you need to pull it out. Coach Cantor hopeful that she doesn't have to utilize that option.
And keep in mind, McGinnis only went 4 innings in Game 1 of the series, with Tampa jumping to that early lead and finishing 7-0 on top. So she's basically on full rest entering today's game. But again, you also would like her to stay on full rest entering what will be a busy weekend. She's guaranteed to have at least 2 starts, maybe 3. 3-0 now, and Steffes hits the corner, 3-1. Allie Morgan awaits. They're not going to go to a pinch hitter for her. But if there is a change in the circle for Lynn, they might make a defensive swap to Dodson. Swing and a miss. That was going to be in the zone, and a late decision for Como to go around. Payoff pitch on the way. Lynn have already scored once. Tying runs on deck. Can they get a productive AB right here? Low and inside for strike 3. Got her looking. Second strikeout out of the bullpen for Steffes. 2 down, and it will be Allie Morgan, the freshman, trying to deliver a clutch base hit. We've also seen 4 runners get stranded on the base path today from the Fighting Knights.
A nice job by Steffes battling back, catching an inside corner, and getting a big strikeout for the second out.
That is big for her confidence, too. First pitch high, and Salisbury comes up with it, 1-0.
Morgan walked in the second, flew out to center to end the fourth. Trying to keep this game within distance for Lynn. Again, tying run is on deck.
Low and away, and it'll be 2-0. Once again, Steffes falling behind. But battled back from 3-0 down to record a strikeout against Como just a minute ago. Outside, another clean catch from the catcher. On deck is Riddle, and there might be bases full. So can Steffes make lightning strike twice and get out of a 3-0 hole? High, ball 4. Her second walk of the game. First multi-walk outing of the season as the bases are loaded. No movement from the dugout. Steffes gets the green light to get out of the jam.
Well, you'll see movement from the Tampa dugout.
It is Coach Cantor coming out to the circle, and we are waiting to see whether this will be a handoff of the softball or just a check-in. They had a bit of a talk earlier, and I think it might be the latter. It's just kind of Cantor willing the team forward to get that final out. Steffes will get the chance to get it, but given that it is the tying run at the plate, if there is a clutch base hit that lowers the deficit, you probably have to go to McGinnis because you don't want this win to slip away.
But remember, when Steffes came in to start the fifth inning, the first batter she faced was Riddle, and she struck her out.
So let's see if Riddle can have better luck this time. First pitch on the way. Tampa playing a standard defensive depth. Strike 1 there from Steffes. Locked and loaded again. There might be a call to the bullpen next inning for the Spartans. But first, Steffes has got to get out of this one. Low and strike 2 called. Those have not always gone for strikes this weekend, but it goes the way of Steffes here. Payoff pitch. This could be, even though there's no balls yet. Is this the way for Steffes to lead unloaded? Flared foul, and Riddle stays alive.
If you're Riddle, you have to be very wary of Steffes trying to keep that elevation, but take it a little bit outside and try and get you to whiff.
So again, the 0-2. Swing and a miss. Some high heat to end the frame and get out of the jam. 2 hits bring home a run for the Fighting Knights. But Steffes leaves them loaded to preserve a 4-run Spartan lead. It's 6-2 with the last chance for Tampa to extend their advantage. Bottom of the sixth. Welcome back to the Namoli Family Stadium. Taylor Storley, Victor Anderson bringing you the weekend action. And the weekend about to come to a close. Potentially 2 half innings remain for Spartan softball until we come back next week on Wednesday night. Assumption comes to town to kick off spring break action and a lengthy Spartans home stretch. Cam Feast leads off, and it'll be strike one.
Joey Trawick.
Although, Joey Trawick, who replaced Feast, is still in the game.
So it'll be Trawick, Salisbury, and Brumble O'Neill, the scheduled hitters. Although, remember, you have Bella Campbell serve as a pinch hitter in the fifth. So we'll see if she stays in the game to be in that DP spot and do hit third.
But for now, Trawick falls behind the count 0-2. Advantage in favor of Lindsay, who's back in the circle. And pitch 110 is outside, 1-2. Very busy weekend for Lindsay, just trying to get 3 more outs to keep things close. 12 hits allowed on the day, 23 in total on the weekend. But has done a better job with her command, only issuing 3 walks, compared to 8 in her first 5 innings of action. 2-2. Strike 3, floated down Main Street, and another strikeout. 4th of the game from Lindsay. Almost a season high. Great stuff out of Lindsay. Entering the action today, had 7 strikeouts in total. Exited the game, of course, after suspension was called for weather in Game 2. That one hits a short, should be an easy play. Salisbury out by a step off the hop. Good job fielding by Ellis, 2 down to bring up Bella Campbell. Or no, it'll be Olivia Feldman getting a crack at the plate. So they do a couple of shuffles up and down the order.
So essentially what's happening is Feldman is hitting in the number 7 slot. She was subbed in for Brumble O'Neill. So she'll be hitting here in the 6th slot into 6.
So interesting kind of shuffling across the plate. It'll give Feldman a chance to get on the board, 0-1. Feldman is 2 for 7 this season, not counting counting the previous game. 1-1, that one missing outside from Lindsay, who has had quick work to get the first 2 outs of the inning. One and one on the way. Outside, 2-1.
I thought that call might have just grazed the outside black of the zone, but Robert Kirk says it just missed outside.
So Lindsay looking for her first complete game of the weekend. And might get it on that pitch? No, it will be 2-2. So one more strike needed for Lindsay for a clean 6th inning. Hit to center. How much carry does that have? It is not going to be in range. It will roll behind the center fielder. A 2-out double for Feldman, safely into second. And Abby Johns can try to keep the Spartans offense going.
A nice shot by Feldman. Again, this is the second hit we've seen in this game, Tyler, where the ball just fell out of the reach of an outfielder or an infielder in the first case with Riddle. And this is what happens when he plays so far back, is with this spacious outfield. Anything that's a little flare that's out of your range could fall in and could be multi-bases.
First pitch outside. It'll be ball 1 to Abby Johns. And indeed, Tampa is known for having some good power at the plate. And only once have they been able to hit it over an outfielder's head this weekend. But it is a couple times that they've dropped it in for a blooper, make it 1-1. Although that one had a little more carry than your average bloop hit. And Goins could have made a running catch. But the goings were a little bit tough for Goins. 2-1, missing high. Johns with 2 sacrifices, including a squeeze RBI and a double RBI. So 3 productive at-bats for her today. This one fouled back. That'll add a strike to the tally, make it 2-2. Approaching 120 for the pitch count for Lindsay. I believe she already might have reached it. The pitch counting tracking was a little bit inaccurate in the inning. Said she was at 110 later than she actually was. But either way, 2-2 on the way. And that is ball 3. It feels like we're waiting for a delayed call on those offerings because they're just so close. Very unfriendly zone for Lindsay today. Payoff pitch on the way to Johns. Yetter might have a chance on deck. And Johns fouls this one out to the bullpen, which is empty now for the Spartans. We'll see if it is Steffes returning or a different arm coming out there. It will be a hold for Steffes if she exits after the top of the 6th. 3-2 now again. Fouled back, and it is Johns staying alive. I do imagine Tampa would go for someone new for Hannah Yetter and then bring Yetter back on defense. Payoff pitch. That one's high into the gap, but in range for Floriano. Makes the play inning over. So Tampa again leave a runner aboard. 1 hit, 1 stranded, and Lindsay completes 6 innings of work with 13 hits given up. 6 runs, 3 of them earned, 3 walks, and 4 Ks. Not a bad outing today as we now go to the top of the 7th. Last chance saloon, Kelsey Winters to close the door when we come back. So, Steffes' day is done. There won't be a save for the Spartans. It'll be Kelsey Winters trying to close the door with a 4-run lead. Taylor Storley, Victor Anderson bringing you the action from the Namoli Family Stadium. And Winters making her first appearance of the day, a 3.18 ERA in the season. Looking a bit stronger in the circle this year compared to her first year with the Spartans. Ooh, almost a check swing as she goes high and in to Rigo, top of the order for Lynn.
Steffes finishes 2 innings, 2 hits, 1 run. Walked 2, struck out 3 on 40 pitches.
An earned run for Steffes, but did leave the bases loaded, and that is crucial because Tampa only leads by 4. 1-1 for Rigo, grounded out in her lone appearance against Steffes at the plate. Hit to second base this time. Takes a weird hop past Yetter. She'll be on to start the inning. 3rd error out of the Spartans defense.
Yeah, that ball took a funny hop and then hopped off the right side of Yetter's face.
It's not necessarily on Yetter, but she is going to get credit for the error on that play, as that was not necessarily the world's most difficult ball. It's just the random bounces off the dirt that shuffle up the Spartans, as quickly stepping up but not making a throwback to first is Salisbury, make it 1-0. She stays in the game on defense. Feldman stays in the game at first. Those defensive changes getting made earlier. Another lead. They'll throw back, and the runner's safe, 2-0.
Tampa's defense, Feldman, who received that pickup from Salisbury's at first. Yetter, Reynolds, Newpaver, the rest in the infield. John, Zekman, and Treywick, the outfield left to right. Salisbury catching Winters, the 3rd different Spartan in the circle.
Deep fly ball to left field. Johns has plenty of time to track back. Catch made, 1 down. Runner's going to tag up. And they don't turn 2.
Oh.
Swims past the tag. It feels like every one of those plays has gone to the runner. So, a productive fly out from Floriano for the first out to bring up Santiago.
But a nice relay over in left field. Almost double off the runner.
That would have been curtains for Lynn if they were able to double out the runners and get a second out to remove the base runner. But maybe the ill-advised call does work out for the Fighting Knights as the count goes 1-0, because that was a very close play, and I think just an awkward turn is what prevented Yetter from making the tag. It looked good to us. However, Boswell's got a better view down in the infield, make it a 2-0 count. Winter's fallen behind, but she is forcing some weak contact out of Lynn, even though that was a pretty hard-hit fly ball. It was not hard enough to be a really dangerous play. 2-1, good spot from Winters this time. Santiago grounded out in her lone appearance, replacing Kylie Hope. Riley will certainly be back at the plate up next after being pinch ran for. She came back on defense too. Fouled back 2-2. Fouled again. Good job fouling and staying alive for Santiago.
This is probably the fight that you were talking to Coach Pickens you wanted to see from her Fighting Knights going into this series. But again, it's the inability to get those clutch hits in the critical situations is what Tampa has them on the precipice of a 23rd consecutive win over the ladies from Boca Raton.
Tampa's had some lopsided series record lines. Lynn is no stranger to it. Full count pitch. High, ball 4. Just slipped away to put a second runner on. But crucially, a double play on the table here. That is now the 6th walk of the game for the Fighting Knights. Good discipline with 5 Ks and 6 walks today. Both teams able to draw some walks and get on board. Tampa did a lot more of that when the weather was awkward for Lindsay back in game 2. First pitch, high again from Winters, ball 1. Control has always been a little bit of a shaky spot for Winters. That wasn't necessarily a bad full count at bat, though. 1-0. Riley singled previously and came home as the second run of the game. Driven into the gap in left field. Tracking back is Johns. That is off the wall. Runners kind of were staying at first and second. They're going to bring the runner home. They're bringing both home. They get out number 2. Throw to third. They have her in the pickle. It's a double play.
No, ball gets away.
Safe at the plate. Ball gets away, and another comes home. 6-4, but 2 outs on the board.
That was absolute chaos on the bases just now. You saw Rigo and Santiago halfway between second. When the ball got dropped, they both came home. Rigo gets tagged out, and they have Santiago dead on arrival, but the throw went through the wickets of Winters.
Crazy play there to add a second out to the tally. It is 6-4 and strike 1 taken low and inside to Ellis. Notably, what had happened was, once the ball got to left field, they quickly made the relay to home plate. There was a bit of a delay on the base path, making sure she didn't catch it for Rigo and Santiago, as that's going to be strike 2, 1 more out, and it will be door closed for Winters. They get the tag out, Salisbury on Rigo. They have the runner in the pickle, throw it over to Newpaver. Newpaver's ball back to Salisbury, gets away though, and not only allows, after it kind of misses the initial tag from Santiago, the second runner to score, but coming home from second, out of nowhere, Riley makes it to home plate, so inside the park double to add a second run to the board, but a second out for the Spartans. 1-2 on the way. One more strike needed for Winters. 2-2. I have never seen a play on the base path that chaotic. It did pay off for Lynn, but Tampa does actually gain an out off the tally, so with the 2-run lead, it's not the end of the world. Ball 3. Oh, so close, but, well, one of those calls would have to go against the Spartans today. That should also be a 4th error on the play, I'd imagine, for you, Tampa, as well on the play.
They're still trying to score that last play with all the craziness that took place.
That one's hit to third. Picked up on a hop by Newpaver. Her throw's on target, and the game is over. So, Tampa avoid any extra late inning drama, but that chaotic two-out play gave us plenty to work with 2 errors in the final frame of work. 1 hit and 2 runs, no one left on the base path. A little bit scary, but Tampa are able to close the door and walk out victorious with the sweep.
It was not the prettiest way to end things, and I'm sure that Coach Cantor and the rest of the brain trust for Tampa softball will be stressing that to her team. Yes, they got the sweep, and the second game of the series is what they wanted, but a lot of left plenty of runners on base. Defense was not as clean as you typically see from Tampa, particularly towards the back end of the series finale. But you're back to 500 in conference play. You're back over 500, and now you get some time to work on some things as you had 3 big midweek doubleheaders coming up with Assumption, Wilmington, and Southwest Minnesota State, starting off with that doubleheader on Wednesday.
It will be a very busy week for the Spartans as they take their first wins in conference play this weekend, and crucially, close the day with a big sweep. A bit of chaos in the final inning, but a solid job by Winters to get out of the jam. I do believe that none of those runs will be attributed to her earned thanks to the 2 errors picked up on the play. They didn't score an error on the throwback to home plate, but there should be. Tampa with 6 runs on 13 hits, 4 errors, and 10 left on. Lynn with 4 runs on 3 hits, 3 errors, and 7 left on. The Fighting Knights will fall to 0-9. They've got time to get back in the win column. They've got plenty of chances to do so next weekend. And while they'll end the day on a positive note against the Spartans, not a lot of positives to take from the weekend series here in Tampa. And for Tampa, it is going to be a mix of positive and negatives, Victor, because you did mention it is 3 big wins for Tampa, but clutch hitting has still evaded the Spartans at times. They left a total of 28 runners on the base path on a weekend where they were able to come home with 26 runs. But looking at that final game, I think they would have preferred if a couple more of those had come home to give them an extra cushion.
And definitely, you doing that against a team like Lynn or lesser teams in the conference, you can get away with it. But when you're playing the teams like the Florida Techs and the Berries of the world, that's not going to fly. And that's something that Coach Cantor will stress to her team. She's stressing that right now as they're meeting in left field. And they're going to be working on as they continue this home stretch with those 6 games coming up this week, starting with a doubleheader Wednesday versus Assumption.
So Coda Travers gets the win in the circle, 4 innings of 1-run ball, also unearned, so her ERA will also improve by a couple of points from today's game. Solid effort from her. They might want to save a game ball as that is her first collegiate win in the circle for the Spartans, improving to a 1-0 record. Lindsay gets tagged with her 3rd loss of the weekend, falling to an 0-5 record. But I think she can hold her head high with a 6-inning outing this time around, striking out 4, walking 3, and only 3 earned runs, which will lower her ERA a smidge before another busy weekend lies ahead. So that'll do it from the Moley Family Stadium. Stay tuned for live stats and Tampa Spartans TV for any other sport broadcast this weekend if there's anything going on Sunday. And, of course, we'll be back here at the Namoli Family Stadium on Wednesday as Tampa hosts Assumption to begin an active weekend of softball. I'm Taylor Storley for Victor Anderson and everyone here in the press box. Tampa completes the sweep 6-4 as they improve